Ready?
Pressing? Shall I press? Yes or no?
Hello folks, I'm Richard Moore, North Mississippi Anti-Gang Stalking Association, and YouTube, United States Anti-Gang Stalking Association. I would say follow me on Parler, but apparently that is not an option, as many of you already know, everybody already knows. Also, Tumblr. For those that are not on Tumblr, you can follow me there. It's at End Criminal Stalking. That's on Tumblr. End Criminal Gang Stalking. Sorry about that. So, in Facebook, North Mississippi Anti-Gang Stalking Association, I've been heavily censored, so I don't know if about some of the other groups. I'd like to think that not everyone is being censored as I am. If they're not being censored, so it kind of makes me wonder if we're dealing with a fake TI group, perps that have been in place since day one as a claptrap for victims. So this has been the story of our lives with organized criminal stalking. 2021, it's a new year, and I'm sitting here waiting for YouTube to do something, but who knows if it's doing anything or not. But at any rate, it's a new year, and there's a lot of things that are going on right now. So I really am just as in the dark, I believe, as everyone else is the current events of what's going on in this country, what's going to happen. So we have to be prudent, obviously, in our judgment, and try to exercise a little just peace and being calm, and let things unfold over the next few days. As many of you know, a few weeks ago, after exposing certain individuals in my community in North Mississippi, I was arrested for cyber stalking. Imagine that. The very thing that this association and me personally works at exposing daily are the people and the program and the system behind organized criminal stalking. This is a worldwide epidemic, much larger than COVID-19 and far more deadly than COVID-19. There is no vaccine or fake vaccine or anything that can be offered as it pertains to the victim. Victims did not ask for this. No one signed up for this. And the very people that have been elected to office to uphold this Constitution and to protect and to serve the people, the taxpayer, the citizen, the American citizen, are the very people that have allowed this criminal empire to flourish. Countless lives have been destroyed. The victim being first become a victim and victimized by a smear tactics and a campaign to destroy their reputation and the perception of their character. And then they shoot for the pocketbook. They often, more times than not, force them into unemployment. They isolate them from friends and family. And the only way they can do that is for these people to play a part, an integral part in the bigger scheme of things. So once this victim is has all these things in play, then of course the mental health system is all too eager and waiting with open arms, because they too participate in this program. Law enforcement runs it, and our mental health professionals and people in the medical field play a very important part in their role of community policing. You can go to any state, the website of the Department of Homeland Security Fusion Center in your state, and just read up on exactly what the fusion centers are doing, and read up on their dossier, and look at Citizen Corps, their Citizen Corps program. And excuse me while I'm trying to, doors open up. I'm trying to get YouTube to cooperate, and this is nothing new. Absolutely, this is folks. This is Perp 101. Every time I get ready to go live, we have some type of interference, and so that's the deal there. That's what we're working with. So y'all just excuse the wild dog that I've got going on there. So I'm trying to use different medias here, and it continuously eludes me, because as we know, most victims know that they're constantly dragging on your internet service, they're on your phones. I've watched the movie a few times, Snowden, and I challenge any of you that if you haven't taken the time to watch the movie Snowden, about Edward Snowden and what he went through, what he was actually put through during his attempt to explain to the world what the federal government was doing. And of course, he is still in exile. He knows that there's no possible way that he could get a fair trial if he came back to the United States. He couldn't get an open trial in public. It would be in a FISA court, and which this is something that would also be private, and the citizens wouldn't know anything about it. And so that's essentially what we're dealing with. When Snowden mentioned that the NSA had created a dragnet on the entire planet, I want everyone to understand this. This is not a conspiracy or a thought process that somehow the government is listening to people and all that. For a person to think that they're not is absolutely absurd. For a person to assume that their SMS messages, their emails, their conversations over the telephone, their activity on social media is private, well, you're sadly mistaken. Nothing, and I mean nothing, and no one is free from this absolute privacy breach that is run amok. And so the data that is collected from all these different agencies, I've said this before, I hate repeating myself, but that's sometimes necessary. Whether it's collected by the CIA, NSA, FBI, local law enforcement, state police, it doesn't matter. That information is fed into the Department of Homeland Security. It's fused together in one nice package, hence the fusion centers. And by the way, the Fusion Center is not a federal agency. It is the Department of Homeland Security in each state is owned by state employees, and this includes retired employees as well, and private entities. Now, this is on their website, folks. This is not something that I just pulled out of thin air. Who are these private entities? Who are these private contractors? Well, that's AT&T, Verizon, Google, Apple, Amazon. I shouldn't have to just keep going on and on and on. So they control this deal. And so if a conservative patriot like myself, you've got a mark against you. Born again Christian like myself, mark against you. Pro-life, that's another mark against you. Expose corrupt law enforcement and corruption within our government, you're hit. Folks, that's how easy it is to become a target because you believe in American values. And you believe in the Constitution. And you believe in our civil rights and our civil liberties. Our birthright as an American is the inalienable right. The pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is our birthright. If that is infringed upon, willfully, maliciously, and systematically, then that is a crime. Whether you are some secret underground target as a bull crap domestic terrorist, or you're being investigated for some bogus made up crime, whatever the story is that these people use to put you on this list, it doesn't matter. Because you as a victim, you as an American citizen will never, y'all have to absolutely, and you can see the abject interference. All of a sudden, somebody wants to call me and I'm just going to keep on trying to make this thing go. And I get, it was text messages, now it's phone calls. Don't you just love the perps out there in the world? I mean, my God, I could wait 40 days and 40 nights and not get a phone call or anything. But just the minute I go live, honey, it's look out, there ain't no door, there is now situation. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. I'm also will be posting on Rumble and try to get that up before that platform's taken down. So we, this. It's like, I mean, it is completely just a duck shoot. If you're a person, especially an American citizen, that dare speak out and tell the truth. So a few weeks ago, like I had mentioned, through years of being systematically targeted and tortured by organized criminal stalkers in North Mississippi, and then they network nationwide. So regardless of where I travel, experience the same things with mobs of cars trying to force you off the road, the blinding you, intentionally blinding you, and I have filmed and documented that stuff. I'm telling you, they could build a new wing at the Smithsonian Institute with the evidence and data that I've collected as it pertains to organized criminal stalking. So there's no question. There's not an attorney in this country that doesn't know about this. There's not a judge in this country that doesn't know about this. There's not a mental health professional that doesn't know about this. You see, as part of this community policing, this holistic approach, that means everybody's involved. Everybody plays their part. And if they don't play their part, then somehow they manage to find themselves on the wrong side of the deal. Small businesses, if you look at in the last 2 months, how many thousands, not hundreds, but thousands of small businesses that have gone belly up. Walmart has made not billions, but trillions of dollars since COVID has, since that deal broke. I'm not exaggerating. Not billions, but trillions. I don't know where Amazon is on this deal, but I imagine that they're in that deal as well. So it's all about money. It's all about money and control. So yes, it's a big monster. It's a beast. So what do we do as victims? How do we get our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness back? Well, the best advice I can give you is if you're spending an enormous amount of time trying to understand the science on the different weapons they're using, the different technologies they're using, you'll be chasing your tail till kingdom come. None of that will bring you happiness. None of that will bring you peace. None of that will put your family back together. None of that will give you a new job or a roof over your head. I challenge you in 2021 for every victim to understand that regardless of how many trolls and creepy perps that are online, and they're there, and honey, they're there in spades, claiming to be the go-to people when it comes to gang stalking. And they are, but they are part of the gang stalking. Targeted justice, case in point, is they continuously, it's ran by perps. It's part of the Home Office, folks. And they parade all these so-called celebrity victims and whistleblowers and all of this stuff. Folks, that's a crock of shit. Edward Snowden is in exile in Moscow. He's a whistleblower. So how is it that we've got these clowns with targeted justice and gang stalking database? Don't leave that out. And the efforts and all these nice and good and warm and fuzzy, comfortable, lovely sounding things they're doing. What have they done to help the victims? Has criminal stalking stopped? No, it's increased. Has it helped the victims? No. So I'm not here to give you a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling about all these big projects that are in store and that are going to happen. Yes, things are happening. Yes, right now we're seeing a shift, and I know the real victims know exactly what I'm talking about. You being a victim of organized criminal stalking, you know, but you know, but you know. You don't have to be validated. That me needing to be validated has never been an issue. Nor me needing a cheering squad or cheerleaders or people to stand behind me and say, yes, I believe. That is not my goal. Any of that, none of that is my goal. My goal is to continue to do what I'm supposed to do as a tax-paying American citizen that is protected by the Constitution of the United States of America. I demand and will continue to demand that my rights and the rights of every single American, regardless of your race, your religion, or creed, any of those things, you, my friend, are protected by that Constitution. And no member of law enforcement has the right to deny due process and to systematically get troops of ass clowns and criminals to steal from you. Many times I have made countless calls to the FBI. I would say at least 40 or 50 about this very thing. countless communications and written complaints to the Mississippi State Attorney General Lynn Fitch to be told by her office, we are not interested in investigating anything as it pertains to your civil and constitutional rights or your allegations of them being violated. This is without any proof. This is without me submitting any evidence. This was completely a very bold and very clear statement from the chief law enforcement officer of the state of Mississippi. The FBI essentially told me the same thing. Not realizing at that time that when we talk about fusion centers, there's 78 in the United States. There's 78 fusion centers. A branch of the FBI, InfraGard, they have branches as well. They're like the KGB or the Gestapo, if you will, in America. The InfraGard have 79 offices around the United States. And they give these local people, volunteer fire departments, law enforcement agencies and so forth, get to enjoy grants and all kinds of fringe benefits for being part of the deal. They also have to sign non-disclosure agreements. And they have some very serious contracts about not discussing this program, admitting that there is a program, even within their own office, within their own agency. I know this for a fact. My source is very reliable. When you have an active member that works for the Department of Justice telling you and confirming the very things that I'm saying, I don't question what I'm telling you. I have no reason to question what I'm telling you. That being said, a few weeks ago, and I continue to do this, an individual was caught on my property. He was leaving out of my property. As I was coming in, I got the tag number. I later ran that tag number and was able to ascertain the identity of the individual that had just pulled off my property. Later on that evening, 20 or more stalkers from a very nearby residence where I live were in and around my property. I went outside and I caught them red-handed, folks. I mean, it was real simple. You've never seen so much racket and so many people scattered and running in your life. And they all ran to this same residence, which, by the way, is the residence where this vehicle that had already been on my property. I don't know these people. I couldn't tell you any of them, the name of any of them. They all fled into that house, and cars started coming in with their flashers on, and people were loading up and scampering like rats jumping off a sinking ship. And I did capture footage of that, and I was able to document a great deal of what I'm telling you. Apparently, in North Mississippi or in anywhere else in the United States, telling the truth and exposing criminals is not popular, especially when the truth sometimes the truth is too big to tell. And I think that's what we are dealing with now. The truth is actually being too big to tell. What's that mean? Too many hands. Too many people are involved. Too many people benefit from this program of population control. And it depending on who you talk to, it has a different name. What's community policing? It's a different name, but it's all the same deal. It just depends on which person or which group of individuals that all network together, just like an Amway scheme from hell. They're all hooked together, and it's just whatever storyline that they've been given. I'm not telling the victims anything they don't already know, but I'm telling you this. As you see the fake TIs, they're advocating for civil and constitutional rights that exercise their constitutional right of free speech, being imprisoned, and mind you, over a 24-hour period, tortured. I won't go into the details of that due to some imminent legal proceedings against the members of law enforcement that was involved in that. I was set up and framed years ago by a deputy sheriff. I've been vocal about that. A corrupt attorney. Imagine that. They had no intentions of me ever arriving to the day where I'm doing what I'm doing now, and that's speaking out publicly. And people actually listening. And people actually taking a little comfort in knowing that you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not paranoid schizophrenic. All the things that they have tried to tell you, that's what they said about Edward Snowden as well, that he was delusional and suffering from schizophrenia. I mean, this is old hat, folks. The banned COINTEL program, my friends, is still alive and well. It's more refined than ever. It has Citizen Corps is the new name. It's an old whore in a new dress. This deal is for me to say, is it going away soon? Well, I'd like to see a lot of people be called on the carpet about their crimes. And I'm just as anxious as the rest of the world to know what was on Pelosi's laptop. I think we're going to find out what's on there. So I do believe that people are. I do believe that people are going to go to jail. I don't know who, but how does it affect you? How does it affect me as a victim? So this is what I want to talk about. Just because they locked me up, and that's what they want. They want to threaten you. And I've had people say, "Well, I'm afraid they're going to set me up." You can't live in fear. Fear is not of God. And folks, I've got faith in God 100%. The reason I'm here today talking to you is only because of God. God, He has seen fit for that to happen. And folks, I'm telling you, that's why I'm here. The only reason. It's not for being anything else other than God's will. I get a lot of people say, you were doing good till you brought this Jesus stuff up and all that. Well, folks, I'm not going to apologize for my beliefs, and I'm not going to stop talking about it. So you can just let that go, okay? That is not open for discussion. I've got my spiritual belief system is very simple. God said it, I believe it, and that settles it. So we just need to move on to something else. And because being a child of God, folks, that's the reason I survive and will continue to survive organized criminal stalking. I've been drugged, poisoned, had attempts at my life. Folks, let me tell you, I'm not going till God's ready for me to go. I'm not going to stop till God stops me. I'm not going to shut up till God shuts me up. Now, law enforcement, if they want to, the very thing that they know that after taking 10 years of my life away from me and trying to break my very spirit and soul and rip it from me and to rip my belief that our country is the greatest country on earth. Does it have its faults? Well, you better believe it. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. Has the justice system failed me? Absolutely. It has failed me miserably many of times. But yet I believe that we have the best justice system in the world. Not perfect, but the best. That's why I continue to implore and to express this to all the victims, that we must continue to use and exercise our constitutional rights. We must continue to always question our government. That is our responsibility as American citizens, is to always question our government. Question those that have been put in places of power, those that are funded by our tax dollars. They're on the government payroll. You know, it's funny how people like Nancy Pelosi she's on the government payroll. But if you're impoverished and you're getting a check from the state, they call it welfare. Well, honey, that check's written all out of the same book, all the same account. So, you know, they're on welfare as well. And two people are too quick to say, you know, you need to get a job and get off welfare. And I think these politicians need to get a job and get the hell off of welfare, because they're on welfare and they're doing what they feel is in their best interest. As far as votes, well, they'll tell you anything lie they need to tell. I'm not telling anybody anything that they don't already know. Do we have honest people in politics? Sure. But let me tell you, folks, that's a really hard row to hoe, is to be someone that has values and someone that believes in the justice system, believes in law and order, for them to take a stand. It's sad. As a victim of stalking, I know personally, I have interviewed individuals and have been associated with individuals that I know firsthand fell victim and died, were murdered by criminal organized stalking that was covered up and a different narrative given by law enforcement. That is a fact that I will not stop talking about. It doesn't matter if it's 100 years from now. My friend, murder is wrong. The systematic torture and tormenting of American citizens is wrong. It's going on in broad daylight. There's not a city or state or town or county in this country that this is not taking place at this very moment. During the time that I've attempted to make a seamless video, as you can see, there's been countless interruptions in what is normally could be compared to the serenity of a mausoleum. But just as quick as I go live, well, you know, we've got the ear hustling perps out there trying to interfere and stop this. So that's why I'm running 5 or 6 cameras right now. And so somewhere or another, and I've even got Asian L back there in the amen section, let me know she's watching too. And so at any rate, I want to encourage all the victims today. If you're in a group that, and believe me, there's plenty of perps in my group, and my private group as well. Folks, I can't micromanage this. I'm not trying to micromanage it. As these perps rear their head and make statements, and I constantly, folks, you wouldn't believe at the people in other groups will talk to other people because they're watching me. They see people I communicate with and explain to them what a bad guy I am. I mean, okay, and I don't know exactly what that's supposed to mean. Facebook does not send me a check every month, and so I could give a tinker's damn what they're saying. I emphasize they're saying it to other people, but they're not saying it straight to me. Most of the time, people, they just really can't accept my response. Or they'll complain to whatever platform I'm on and say I'm harassing or bullying. Or they don't like my language, so that's harassment or bullying. Or that's somehow criminal. Folks, what's really going on? I'll tell you what's really going on. When I named and pinpointed and captured in real time in a 24-hour span of being stalked and the stalkers from the volunteer fire department and all the moves that they were making and what they were doing towards the end of 2020 and did this in a 24-hour period, it was just enough was enough. So I've got law enforcement from another county, not where I live, another county, serving a warrant. So it didn't surprise me. Well, I mean, of course, you never expect law enforcement to show up and tell you they've got a warrant, and it's like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I've had the door frame kicked off of the door and everything kicked, and my property destroyed, my home broken into several times. Law enforcement being on the scene actually during one of these deals, and no arrest has been made. But I do have information from a reliable source that he was told personally by the sheriff that behavior was green lighted as it pertained to me. This is in Union County, Mississippi. So this is real, folks. Law enforcement decides whose rights they want to protect and whose rights they could give a tinker's damn about. And the more they're involved in stalking and tormenting and torturing an individual, this is how the money trickles. This is how the volunteer fire departments get grants. This is how they buy the new fire engines with the loud sirens and so forth and so on, folks, because they're participating in this community policing. And without criminals, made up criminals, folks, then there would be no place for all of this. Without this, recidivism is higher than it's ever been of people returning again and again and again to prison. It's a revolving door. Why? It's designed to be a revolving door. Corrections Corporation of America, a publicly traded company. Folks, private prisons, private law enforcement officers. Folks, this is a money-making money grab. And our prisons are overcrowded. That's all you hear. Prisons are overcrowded. And then you have the imbeciles, fill them up, lock them up and throw them away. Whatever occurred to you. I know firsthand, there's a whole lot of people in prison that need to be there. I also know there's a whole lot of people in prison that don't need to be there, that didn't commit a crime. That's not an exception to the rule, ladies and gentlemen. That is a vast number of individuals that are wrongfully convicted and incarcerated for crimes they did not commit. When you can't afford an attorney and you're appointed attorney, do the math. I hope to God that people are able to pick up what I'm putting down. You've got to understand that. People are quick to judge until it becomes one of them. When it becomes your child, or when it becomes your parents that somehow died in a murder-suicide, which nothing could be further from the truth when I'm talking about certain individuals that I know about, that told me a week and a half prior to this happening that they were in fear of their life, and that a certain individual had been doing things and home invasions and all of these things, and begged me to contact the FBI and law enforcement where they could give their story and give their statement and try to get something done. So a week and a half later, the lady was dead. The husband had self-inflicted knife wounds that he ultimately died of in a county jail that under the sheriff that was covering all this stuff up. And I know this. Those people have targeted me. I sued them in federal court. Don't mess with City Hall. They have been absolutely relentless. They had no qualms with breaking into my house and stealing evidence and paperwork during a federal civil lawsuit against them. This was also the judge was notified of this in writing, was made aware that this was going on, and then after the fact it had gone on. So it's no secret what I'm telling you. So I don't know what the storyline is. They're well aware that I was there, interviewed these people, and they did share a tremendous amount of information. Also know of a teenager, 18, 19 years old, that was an accidental self-inflicted gunshot wound. I posted this on Facebook, the name of this individual, and I'm not going to go into all this, and I just caution myself to do it. And I only do it out of respect for those that have passed, and respect to their loved ones, to not turn someone's death into a media circus or anything else, or some type of ploy. But I have made that public, and those individuals do know who I'm talking about. More importantly, law enforcement knows who I'm talking about. So we want to criminalize and demonize the victim. For those that wish to speak out, I implore you to do it. Not to take up arms and go and out in some type of guerrilla warfare. As much as you may want to do that, I strongly suggest that let's let the people that are put in place to do that to do their job. And I believe that in the coming weeks that these individuals will be things will change. Things will change in law enforcement as a whole. There's too much evidence, too much wrongdoing, too much is known for it not to happen. Okay, so that's the good news for the victims. And folks, the deep state this is what we're talking about. And the element of the deep state is to be able to dictate and control the masses how they see fit. Victim, you journal daily. Make that your goal for 2021. Now, I want to caution you. Don't go around taking pictures all day long and become that which you're exposing. They want you to do that, by the way. They want you to be the creepy person with a camera. I have several cameras in my vehicle. When I'm moving, you can rest assured my cameras are rolling. That shouldn't be necessary, but as a victim, it is part of the deal. I also have them on my property, and so knowing that I'm being continuously watched, I have to continuously watch me, for me, and watch my property. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and I've got plenty of those. But it's not necessary for the victim to go around and start stalking the people everywhere and they want you to think the whole world's involved, and it's not. That's an illusion. The world in this Truman Show from hell that they've created for you, it seems like but they're not. Don't buy that. Quit drinking that Kool-Aid. It's a lie. Trust God. Quit trying to figure out the things and just write down. You got the same cars coming by at the same times doing this. Take some information. Get their tag numbers and stuff. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. There'll come a time when this will be important. There will come a time when your documentation will be needed. And I would hate to know how many victims that are out there that have no idea there's a name for this. And I do know that there are a lot of them on YouTube and Facebook. They're in all kinds of groups, different support groups and stuff like that. And many of them are put in place as claptraps for the victim to get them off on a wild goose chase of devoting the rest of their life, like a Jesuit monk or something, to V2K or to remote neural monitoring or something like that. Folks, all of that and 50 cents might get you a cup of coffee at McDonald's, okay? What I want are the assholes behind it, the man behind the curtain. And the way we get that information is we document and journal daily of what's going on. Just make notes. Each day, make notes, write it down. And when when people have encroached on you, hacked your Wi-Fi and so forth, and you're able to capture those that information, document that. It's real simple. You can do it pen and paper. Write down that information of that, the time and everything, and save it. It's important. Understand this. Don't spend your days trying to make someone else believe that something's going on. Now, folks, let me tell you, a lot of people can't handle the truth. A lot of people can't handle that, and so their way of processing something that they can't process is by really ignoring it. That's really a human natural reflex. I know from being incarcerated that the very people, that my friends and loved ones, when they would communicate and write to me, I didn't realize, but I realize it now, and I realized it then as well, but not to the magnitude that I realize it now, that they too become incarcerated and imprisoned, their soul and their spirit, because they can't be there, they can't help you, they know you're suffering. It's a very uncomfortable situation, and it's horrible for friends and loved ones of those that have a loved one or a son or a daughter that's incarcerated. And it's even worse to have one that's life was taken much too early. And the explanation just didn't add up. It just didn't make sense. We hear talks about the drug problem in America. And folks, and I tell you that law enforcement controls the drug trade. For a person that doesn't understand that or believe that, then obviously you know nothing about history. You know nothing about the Contra scandal with Oliver North and the CIA funding the freedom fighters with cocaine that was shipped into the United States, and the doors opened by the CIA and got the whole country addicted to crack cocaine. They sent hundreds, tens and thousands of African Americans to prison, long prison terms, state and federal. And obviously white people went, but not anything like the proportion. It was way out of, the proportions were astronomical. At how many African Americans were incarcerated by this CIA endorsed drugs for gun program, and this is how they funded this deal, because of the American people. And you had Nancy Reagan saying, "Just say no," and while the CIA was saying, "All we can say is yes." And so it was the United States and the CIA that it created people like Pablo Escobar and the other guy from Panama just escaped me with all the perping going on outside, Manuel Noriega. It was these these and El Chapo of latest renown, these people, their trade, ladies and gentlemen, these people were demonized as drug lords. Folks, how do you think they got metric tons of illegal drugs into America? How are they getting metric tons of methamphetamine into the United States daily? You have me to believe that the Mexican cartels are much wiser and much smarter than our friends in the Middle East that absolutely hate America and everything it stands for. They can't get a thimbleful of anything into this country. It hadn't happened. Nothing's happened since 9/11. Isn't that odd? Nothing but metric tons of methamphetamine. That's a problem. We've got, so this is our elected officials, folks. The individuals and the families that have lost loved ones due to drug use. I know firsthand. Members of my family. Too many to mention that have fallen victim to that. And I look at the corruption in our federal government that made these things possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got to realize that we're not in a perfect world or a perfect country, but there are a whole lot of people that hate Americans. And let me tell you what, folks, there's a whole lot of them right here in America. We can talk about China and what China's doing right now as I speak on the Canadian border in Canada. The Chinese military have been doing all type of military exercises for some time now. How is it the Chinese government has purchased in excess of 2,000 acres of land in Texas that borders Mexico? I hadn't heard a thing about this on the fake news. How is it that in Montana and some of the other states in the Midwest, people that have large ranches and parcels of land are being paid 2 and 3 times their value by Chinese? Why do the Chinese want land in Montana? I mean, that's the damnedest thing I've ever heard. Folks, this is a fact. This is what's going on right now, okay? The Chinese have done a lot for us. They've enabled Walmart to become a multi-trillion-dollar corporate behemoth that is just a step away from being militarized. If you took everything out of Walmart that was made in China, you'd have the empty shelf syndrome real quick. Real quick. What else have they given us? Oh, a virus? Folks, we go on and on and on. So yes, it's a big monster. You as a victim, we can't tackle this big monster, but together we can demand truth and complete transparency of our government. We do this by not breaking the law, but by demanding that our laws be upheld. That's what I'm telling you as a victim. Let's hold them to what that Constitution says they have to do. Let's hold them to that. Document what is happening. And there's no problem with befriending and reaching out to other victims, but I caution you of that many times. They'll turn out to be a gaslighting perp from hell. I know firsthand. That is the Home Office's main objective, is to keep everybody confused. Look over here while we're doing something over there. When I was telling you about the drugs and the CIA and all of this stuff, when the CIA finally admitted to all the things publicly that I just told you, under Bill Clinton's administration, very few media outlets picked it up. So you'll have to get on a search engine if there's any left. I'm sure Google is, but I don't know if they've swatted down the other ones yet or not. I'm saying that kind of tongue in cheek, but y'all know I'm telling it like it is. And you know why it got knocked off the front page and why people didn't know about it? Because they were too busy talking about Monica Lewinsky. It seemed that the stain on the blue dress was a bigger news than the CIA systematically funding arms for a private army with cocaine and illegal drugs sold on the streets. And mind you, these people selling this dope, furnished by the CIA, were going to prison. That's how it works when you're dancing with the devil. These perps, these frontline crash dummies that think that they have really been given a lease on life, they're doing a job, they're doing good because they're stopping bad people. Let me tell you what, folks. Let me tell you what, perps. That nobody's going to know your name when the shit hits the fan. And I'm here to tell you, the shit is hitting the fan, okay? I promise you. I've made some hit the fan. That you can keep throwing me in jail. Keep doing it. I'm not going to stop. Send me your story. I want to hear from you. You can contact me through Facebook. It's the North Mississippi Anti-Gang Stalking Association. On YouTube, United States Anti-Gang Stalking Association. They've got the comment section shut down, but you can message me through that. It seems like no one's had a problem getting through to me through the Facebook page. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Rumble as well. And hopefully on Parler if it ever comes back. Until next time, good night. God bless you. Keep your head up. Good days are coming.